quick Nietzsche. The last essay under philosophy will be discussing in our next class, and we have four categories here, four themes related to philosophy, psychology, science, environment, and work and class, which again is related to society. So these five chapters, let's say, under 5 chapters we have 8 essays, and so far we have discussed some 4 essays under philosophy. Now today we'll be discussing on the essay under psychology. You must have heard about Sigmund Freud. Yes, how many of you have heard about Sigmund Freud, an Austrian psychologist? Can you raise your hands, those who have heard about Sigmund Freud? Not. Others? Nobody has raised the hand. No. You must have heard, because he is not new to us. You must have at least gone through his interpretation of the dreams, isn't it? So, Utsaha, which book? Of course, you must have read the textbook, if you remember, Magic of Words in grade 11. Do you? Magic of Words. Say the recurring dream. The old one, yes. The course has been changed now, but you must have gone through the recurring dream of Kimberly Clark, yes. So you interpreted dreams there, and the interpretation of dream was made by Sigmund Freud, because he has worked in the sector of psychology. So what do you mean by psychology? First of all, before we discuss, like philosophy, we understood the knowledge, or the eagerness, or let's say having interest on the knowledge. That is, the person who is oriented, or who is focused, or who is interested in perceiving, getting more and more knowledge, we call him or her the philosopher. Simply, what do you mean by psychology? Can you write some of your definitions in the chat box? Okay, let us listen from Pramoditya. Study of mind. What else? Riba, what do you mean by psychology? Study of human behavior. Both Utsaha and Ekikrit are okay. They are right in their definitions, but Utsaha goes to the traditional one, study of mind, which is the very traditional definition of psychology, but Ekikrit goes to the recent one, the study of behavior, that is psychology. What else? Riba, how have you defined, or what do you mean by psychology? Ujjal, do unmute yourself. No matter if you do not have any concept, say no matter. It doesn't make any fault. Okay. Study of human mind. So if we broadly define this psychology, the concept of psychology, psycho is related to our mind, logy, that is the study, and in relation to that, what we study, that's important. That's why psychology is the study of human behaviors in relation to human mind. So what's there in human behavior and mental process? Good. It studies both. And earlier they defined Psychology studies the soul or the spirit. Later it studies the mind. Now it studies the human behaviors. But it is abstract. What it does is it studies all human behaviors. What you do is guided by your thinking. So this psychology that studies human behaviors in relation to our mind. In relation to our mind means we are guided by our psyche, and this psyche guides us to do something, that is especially psychology. And here we discuss about the essay Sigmund Freud's case study. Case, case is one of the special uh, situation, a special topic, a special, let's say, special in the sense that it is somehow extraordinary, or in the sense it has some abnormality. If we study the person, his behaviors are special beyond some normal cases. And Sigmund Freud, one of the psychologist, later he has studied this concept of Katharina, the lady's behaviors he has studied here, and he talks about the concept of psychoanalysis. So how many of you have heard about id, ego, and superego? Can you raise your hands? The virtual hands. Id, ego, and superego. Not. Kizen, didn't you discuss these three concepts, id, ego, and superego, during the interpretation of the dreams? You have forgotten. You must have remembered at least Sigmund Freud's analysis. Oh yes, forgetting is good, because forgetting is also because of our psychological. That's our psychological process. If you don't forget, you won't retain. You won't have retention. You won't have remembrance. Forgetting is also important for retention. This is also the part of psychology. Writer's name we cannot remember. No, it is not writer's name. It is the theorist's name. And suppose you are asked in the exam, like psychoanalytical theory or this Catherine's case, you must remember that Sigmund Freud's case. Otherwise, you won't have this. What actually he means in this psychoanalysis. Let's listen from Pramoditya Soumya Amatya. Pramoditya, can you unmute yourself once?
Yes, sir.
Have you heard these three concepts, id, ego, and superego?
No, sir.
Okay. These are the three terms coined by Sigmund Freud. Just he described these three terminologies related to human personality. So, or have you heard then the concept of unconscious, subconscious, and conscious stages of mind?
Did not quite hear you.
Have you heard about conscious, subconscious, and unconscious stage of mind?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyone else? Anusa, have you heard about these three concepts?
No, sir.
Good. Anshu, can you say something more? Can you share some ideas on these concepts?
Unconscious state of mind is just like more like a behave. When you say I have a more like a habit, and subconscious is just like I cannot interpret it, but and unconscious is when you like your body is doing that task, but you don't know it. You
Okay.
later realize it.
Good. Thank you. So these three stages, each is related to our unconscious mind, let's say, or subconscious mind, conscious mind, and that we are guided by our activities, our behaviors are guided by these three terminologies. So if I'm clearly audible or not, let me switch off my video if it is not clear. Is the audio clear now? Anusa, can you say something? Okay, fine, thank you. So some of they have some network problems, they are leaving. Now, let me just talk about this psychoanalytical. We'll talk about this in detail. Psychoanalysis, this studies human relation or activities of human relation, conscious and unconscious state of mind. So there are two stages. So Diksha, good morning. Are you just joining now?
Yes, sorry, the light was not there.
Okay, fine. So we are talking about psychoanalytical theory by Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is one of the psychologists. He has studied human behaviors in relation to human mind, and psychology studies this human behaviors are guided by, are directed by, are controlled by, and are just uh, just formed by or shaped by human mind. Behaviors are shaped by human minds, and there is a relation between human mind and human thoughts and human activities. So here we are talking about conscious stage of mind, unconscious stage of mind. According to Sigmund Freud, his theory, let's say, his theory psychoanalysis, human behaviors are guided by unconscious layer of human mind. There are such stories. There is such stories of human behaviors which are mostly guided by unconscious stage of mind, and there is subconscious stage of mind, and there is also conscious stage of mind. So just remember, listen words: unconscious stage, subconscious stage, and conscious stage of mind. These three things, first of all. So how does this, what is the origin of unconscious? That's important. I will discuss this later tomorrow in our next class tomorrow in detail. That much detail is not necessary, but at least having this concept is important. So human beings have many desires for power, for love, for all various things. Their physical desires, their emotional desires. And here psychoanalysis talks about the desire for sex as well. So it talks about the human behaviors. They have some relation with our mind, our psyche. All the desires cannot be easily fulfilled. Whatever you desire, whatever you expect does not or cannot be uh, easily fulfilled. Suppose uh, you can just imagine the situation, and some repressed desires, you just think in your mind. So many repressed desires are in your mind, in human mind. They are stored there, and they have made the storehouse in our mind. And such unfulfilled desires, those who cannot, which cannot be fulfilled, they store in our mind. What Sigmund Freud believes and what his theory believes in. The storehouse of unfulfilled desires makes our unconscious, and this is unconscious stage of mind. This unconscious stage of mind is mainly guided by id, which is called animal-like trend or animal-like behavior, because the person or we do not know what is right and what is wrong. So it or unconscious stage of mind is maximum or mostly covered in our mind, and what remains there is all unfulfilled desires that makes our unconscious. So this unconsciousness or this unconscious stage of mind affects our other conscious activities. What we are doing something consciously. So unconscious stage has relation with that conscious stage or affects those conscious activities. Like you can't get always what you consciously want, isn't it? Automatically, sometimes many ideas, just many desires, many expectations come in our mind, but not consciously we do so. Rather, what happens is you get what you unconsciously need, like the desire to come out again, but you control sometimes your joke, sometimes you represent those in another form. So human psychology, especially psychology, we defined the study of human behaviors in relation to human mind. So some human psychology, let's say, has three layers. We can say three layers. Just to understand these three layers again, uh, we are studying two things. One is the three stages of mind. They are unconscious, subconscious, and conscious stages of mind. The second thing is we are also studying human psychology as a whole has three stages or three layers. They are id, ego, and superego. So the desires are it. All human desires. Suppose you now have some desire, that is that is your it. That is you are guided by your it. The social rules. Uh, the suppose we are in the classroom and we have been controlled, or we have been in our, let's say, one system that our so many desires have been controlled by our society, and this controlling, it is saying it is right, it is wrong, it is not good, it is good. This kind of situation is controlled, and that is because of superego. Okay, it is controlled by superego. And this superego, or ego, let's say ego maintains the balance between it and superego, because it is the intermittent position, or it controls our so many our guide so many guides so many our desires as fulfilled or unfulfilled ones. And superego, the middle layer the middle layer is it sorry the lowest layer is it, the middle layer is ego, and the highest level is superego. From example, like some criminal activities occur like because of it. Some criminal activities are controlled, and says it is said no, it is not good, it is good, or it should be not done. This is guided and controlled by the second phase or second stage or second layer, that is ego. Ego controls between id and superego. Then superego says we are all concerned about our responsibilities, concerned about our duties, concerned about our status, concerned about our social norms and values. So we do not commit such crimes because of our superego. It says no, you are in the society, you have these responsibilities, you have that responsibilities, and this is what is our superego. Superego is having all information about our knowledge, our values, our systems. And sometimes there is intermittent position, there is middle layer, that is ego. Ego guides to the id. You are not allowed to do this, that crime, or something like some criminal activities, or like rape. Suppose rape, most of the cases occur because of the rape, and this is called id. All guided, the people, all they have been guided by id. So this, in this stage, we have all unconscious stage of mind. It does not say or cannot say that this is wrong, they are guided by. So here we discussed about three things, three layers of human mind. The first one is it, which is where we have mainly all unconscious knowledge, unconscious storage of desires, unconscious unfulfilled desires of expectations. All this is it. And this it is this unconscious stage is filled with its. Whatever we have unfulfilled desires, this is it. The second stage is we discussed. After it, we have the ego. Ego is just balancing between id and superego. And finally, the third one is the concept of superego, that says it is totally wrong. We are not supposed to do that. Any crimes if occurring, look at, just you can take some examples from the human activities. Some humans in the society, they are oriented to do some criminal activities, suppose, because they are guided by unconscious stage of mind, and they are just filled with their eats. They cannot say, or they cannot control, or they cannot even differentiate sometimes it is right or wrong. But sometimes they say no. Suppose rape cases within families, we have heard so many such, and this is guided. They are guided. Their mentality, their consciousness is all the stage of in unconscious, and they are guided by it. So they do so. But some says no, it is not good. You are not supposed to do that, or suppose like this. There is the control. There is the balance. That is the function of ego. We say achetan man, ardhachetan, sachet. So superego is the conscious stage of mind. Is it clear?
Sir, ego controls or superego controls the unconscious state of mind.
Ego balances between id and superego. It is
Yes, but what else does it do, ego? Just
um,
balance.
yeah, mainly it has the main function, maintaining the balance between id and superego. Suppose sometimes your id says, suppose you have the social responsibility, you are not concerned about that. You have the marriage in your neighborhood, let's say, or suppose any example. This is not only that. I'm just oriented to the activity, one of the active behavior, and it is not concerned about it. Then your ego says, no, it's your neighborhood. At least you must attend then. And if you are more guided, again listen, this id, superego, ego, superego, or you can say unconscious, subconscious, or conscious stage of mind, they are developed according to our development of our physical aspects, our age, our education, and so on. We are taught, we are trained, and this training, this education is also, I'm educated one, I should not do such crimes. So there is social value, there is education, and these all are the state of conscious mind. So it mainly maintains, ego mainly maintains to the superego and ego, balance between them. And superego is, sometimes people are even not thinking of that unconscious stage of mind. They only think of that this is higher developed form, and mainly needs or unfulfilled desires, they are fulfilled, they are just reflected into some other means. Like we see the dreams, in your dreams, so many dreams are reflected, which have not been able to, which you have not been able to fulfill in your day-to-day life, or in your real life. So that unfulfilled desire is stored in your mind, that is unconscious mind, and then that is fulfilled through dream. So Sigmund Freud says your unfulfilled desires are even sometimes fulfilled with your dreams. That is the interpretation of dream. And this, all dreams, they are stored in our unconscious stage of mind. Any more question?
No, sir.
Okay. We have 27 students got connected, and still I found some of they are joined late. No matter, might have some disconnectivity. Okay. Next one, the next thing is, we have to discuss this psychoanalysis in detail, but we don't have time. So let's just get this much, the concept that psychology, the study of human behaviors in relation to human mind, or in relation to its psyche, one thing. The second thing, we discussed about the relation of conscious, unconscious, and subconscious stages of mind, two. And again, we discussed about three layers in the human mind under human psychology. They are id, ego, and superego. Unconscious is mainly concerned with id. So that storage, that covers max to the let's say 60% of the portion of the human mind. 60% of the desires, we just whatever on the way we see something, then we are attracted to it. Suppose sometimes if you are attracted to the beautiful lady, let's say on the way to your walk somewhere, then you are lured and you are just attracted, and this is there your it that guides you. So everywhere he describes this human needs, human desires, they have been guided and they have some relation with our mind, our psyche, and this psychoanalytical description is there. And further he discusses the core issues that form our unconscious stages are fear of intimacy. Rojina, are you just joining now? Rojina,
Yes, sir.
are you just joining now?
Yes, sir.
Couldn't you join the previous class? Not feeling well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so take care. Now, here we discuss some unconscious stages, the core issues that that construct our unconscious are like fear of intimacy is there in our mind, fear of abandonment is there, fear of sometimes betrayal is there, fear of sometimes low esteem is there. In class, I'm not valued by my friends, by my teachers. So this some students in according to their class, according to their age, they think. So this is also there in the unconscious stage. Sometimes we feel insecure and we feel unstable sense of self as well. What is I have I been really valued in the circle, in the society? Very interesting things here, but like due to some restriction of time, we are not supposed to go in that detail. So further insecurity, this sense of unstable balance in the society, searching sometimes what actually I'm like. So this you must have considered these ideas that appear, that just frequently appear in our minds. And sometimes there is a like audible fixation, like our childhood desires are for opposite sex, and if they are not fulfilled, then there occurs dysfunctional, not proper functioning of relation with this with like with parents, that may not allow us to develop a mature relation with our peers as well. So these psychoanalysts, they differentiate, they describe this in many ways, and we just discussed about dreams and symbols. They have some message of in expressing societies, let's say, just you can understand in this three way. As we said, dream also have little bit influenced by our society, by our circle. During the sleep, the unconscious stage of mind becomes more free. Yes, more free than when we are awake. That's why mainly we dream during our sleep. And this dream or this unconscious stage of mind expresses some message about what we want in our dream, what we expected in our dream, what that is remained unfulfilled in our dream. So in dream also, this is, as we said, it is guided by, influenced by our society, and dreams have some symbols. We are not going in that detail. Let's say sometimes what happens is, in some cases we nightmare. We nightmare means we see we see daydream or dream in daytime. Well, we are awakened and conscious. We are in psychological crisis. Then what happens? We are awakening. We are not sleeping. In sleeping, we say that we saw the dream, and in our awakening time, we have then psychological crisis, psychological trauma. Don't forget this word, psychological trauma. And this psychological trauma, this psychological crisis is there in the case of Catherine in this essay as well by Sigmund Freud. She sometimes gets awakened and sometimes becomes quite afraid of situation. जसङ्ग हुन्छ नि मान्छे बिउजेको बेलामा पनि. So that is again because of the fear in the mind, intimacy, fear of abandonment, or fear of the, let's say we call this the fear of abandonment or fear of betrayal, or sometimes fear of not valuing. So this crisis is seen in our awakening time. So there one more thing we have to discuss about is the meaning of sexuality as well. So this is sexuality is also the basis of unconsciousness, that how sexuality has been taught in the society, how it has been looked in the society, whether we have been in closed, let's say closed or open system. The opposite of we have this drive, the love drive. There may be sex drive, there may be other drives. This all drive is the part of unconscious mind or unconscious stage. So actually he gives Sigmund Freud gives regarding this meaning of sexuality, psychoanalysis. We will discuss this part of this in the essay as well. So he goes through 4 stages of mainly 3 stages, like oral stage, like anal stage, like genital sexual stages of human mind. In course of human growth, there are other theories related to this as well. Psychoanalysis, what they believe is the child in his early stage fulfills his desires of this sexual desires through just putting the finger in his mouth, or like in other way, just sucking the breast of the mother. So from that stage, later on different stages they describe. Again, that is in detail, so we won't go in that much detail. Now let me share the screen, and there already has been uploaded the text. So how many of you are there listening me? Audio is clear. Can you raise once your hand? Okay. So far, if you have any questions. Rojina, am I audible to you? Okay, thank you. Utsa, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Good. So let me share the screen, and it is actually I discussed much about, but we may not have the sufficient time regarding this. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
What can you see here?
Sigmund Freud. Title: Born in.
Good. People say he's an Australian, not Australian, Australia-based Australian psychologist, simply say psychologist, born in 1856 and died in 1939. And this, the case study we are discussing, this is his fourth case study, sorry. There are other case histories or case studies he has done in course of studying human psychology. So have you heard about the concept of hysteria? So many of us, yes. Hysteria. This hysteria is one of the, let's say, disease. What we call this? Just all because of dysfunction in our psychology, in our behavior, and so on. This is what we aren't going to discuss this all. Hypnosis. By using hypnosis, 2 friends, Sigmund Freud and Brewer, they studied this and they analyzed and they marked. This is the beginning of the psychoanalysis. What human actually does or humans actually do. This has been researched, this has been studied, and this has been explored by these two writers. Again, I'm not going to that much in detail, but this is important. They disagreed, and this is again, there is the life history, biography, and so on. Psychoanalysis theory, heavily indebted to Sigmund Freud's careful, painstaking, continuous patient work that established the source of neurosis. Because this study is now studied, this study is also studied by medical doctors in the sector of medicine in MBBS in courses as well. This is the selection, the fourth case that was recounted study in Hysteria. So this studies a girl's case in Hysteria. Anusa, can you read out this first page? So we'll read out some, because everyone please read silently, and one of your friend will be reading it aloud. So you will have to listen and read together. Anusa Joshi,
Yes,
are you
sir.
there?
Yes,
Can you
sir.
read out this first paragraph or first page?
In the summer vacation of year 189, I made an excursion into the Hohi Taurin so that for a while I might forget medicine and more particularly the neurosis. I had almost succeeded in this when one day I turned aside from the main road to climb a mountain which lay somewhat apart and which was renowned for its view and for its well-run refugee hut. I I reached the top after a strenuous climb and, feeling refreshed and rested, was sitting deep in contemplation of the charm of the distant prospect. I was lost in I was lost in thought that at first I did not connect it with myself when these words reached my ears. Are you a doctor, sir? But the question was addressed to me and by the rather sulky looking girl of perhaps 18 who had served my meal and had been spoken by the landlady as Katharina. To judge by her dress and bearing, she could not be a servant, but must no doubt be a daughter or relative of the landlady's. Coming to myself, I replied, "Yes, I am a doctor, but how did you know that? You wrote your name in the visitor's book, sir, and I thought if you had a moment to spare. The truth is, sir, my nerves are bad. I went to see a doctor in L about them and he gave me something for them, but I'm not well yet. So there I was with the neurosis once again, for nothing else could very well be the matter with this strong, well built girl with her unhappy look. I was interested to find the neurosis could flourish it in this way at a height of over 6,000 feet. I questioned her future, therefore I report I report the conversation that followed between us just as it is impressed on my memory, and I have not altered the patient's dialect. Well, what is it you suffer from?
Yes, thank you. I'll call you up. I'll call upon you later after some time. So actually, you will get this download there from the notes. Please do everyone go through this. These are 12 pages, including discussion, question, writers, assistants, bio, some their contribution. But I'm not going into that much detail. Carl Jung's study, there's Sigmund Freud's study. If we study this, we can have 10 more other classes need. But what we are going to discuss here, we have to be clear about is he has studied other cases. And as we define case means, uh, after suppose you study some institution's case, either it is very good, excellent, or very worse. So that is case, and especially case refers to the abnormal situation, which has some abnormalities, some abnormal behaviors. And this is the case of Katharina by Sigmund Freud. He visited just in summer vacation. We have to understand the context. Uh, in the year 1809, 91 is given, it may be 90 or maybe somewhere. So during that, so it is, he said he made an excursion. He went outside. He made the tour. This Ohe Taurin. This Ohe Taurin. It is just described where it is. So you have to understand this name. And he might forget. He might forget medicine and more particularly neurosis. For the refreshment, at least for this reason, he went there. And he had almost succeeded in this when one day I turned aside from my main road to climb the mountain, which lay somewhat apart, was which was renowned for its views and for its well-run refuse hut. So this is the context. This is the situation. Just he describes where he went for what purpose. As he described there, as he was sitting, or he was lost in his thought there. He was thinking of his own study after strenuous, continuous climbing. He was feeling refreshed and rested there, sitting there in deep satisfaction in that new area, new place of this Hohetron, that place. Just he listened, he heard the voice, and somebody asked him, "Are you a doctor, sir? Are you a doctor, sir?" And this question was addressed to him, and a rather sulky-looking girl, perhaps 18 years, who had reserved my meal, who had served my meal and had been spoken by the landlady as Katharina. He heard this Katharina when he had his meal there in the inn or in the restaurant there, and the landlady, the owner of that inn or the restaurant, just she addressed this girl as Katharina, and he heard this name there. So just he judged from the dress and the bearing, because her dress was not like her dress was not like simply like that of servant, and from this he judged she could not be a servant, but no doubt she must be either the daughter or the relative of the landlady. That landlady. There was no landlord. There was only landlady in the inn. This is the situation. This is the context where he describes. Then he replied. What did he say? Yes, I am a doctor. But he asked, how did she know about that? And she replied, you wrote your name in the visitor's book in the hotel or in the restaurant there he visited. And she said, I thought if you had a few moments to spare. So she came closer and she asked, I had something to share with you if you have the spare, if you have the leisure time. The truth is, sir, my nerves are bad. She now explained her situation, her situation or her case, let's say. And she further said, I went to see a doctor in L, that may be the place, any name you can imagine, or just it is that has been created. And then he gave me something for them. For those bad nerves, he gave me some advice or something. What that something is not explained. But I'm not well yet. Still, I'm not well yet, and my nerves are still bad. She just started sharing her condition. And so there I was, the neurosis once again. With the neurosis once again, he thought, the doctor Sigmund Freud thought of, but for nothing else could very well be the matter with this strong and well-built girl with unhappy look. She looked unhappily and just residing in over 6,000 feet. That situation he has described. And he questioned further and further and further. Many questions he just kind of hypnotized. and he report this now in the conversation below. He is reporting the same conversation that had been between Sigmund Freud and this Katharina, this lady. Her real name is there in the text, and just it is impressed on my memory, and I have not altered. He says he has not changed the patient's dialect. Whatever the question she asked, he has not changed that. He has put that as it is, and then he started. Well, what is it you suffer from? The researcher, let's say Sigmund Freud, asked to the lady. Can you read out one more page? Other pages remaining one, the context is clear, then you will enjoy. This is very interesting reading. If you go in depth, very interesting case is there. Can you read out this further?
I get so out of breath, not always, but sometimes it catches me so that I think I shall suffocate. This did not at first sight sound like a nervous symptom, but soon it occurred to me that probably it was only a description that stood for an anxiety attack. She was choosing shortness of breath out of complex of sensations arising from anxiety and laying under undue stress on that single factor. Sit down here. What is it like when you get out of breath? It comes over me at all at once. First of all, it's like something pressing on my eyes. My head gets so heavy. There's a dreadful buzzing, and I feel so giddy that I almost fall over. Then there's something crossing my chest so that I can't get my breath. And you don't notice anything in your throat. My throat's squeezed together as though I were going to choke. Does anything else happen in your head? Yes, there's a hammering enough to burst it. And don't you feel at all frightened while this is going on? I always think I'm going to die. I'm brave as a rule and go about everywhere by myself, into the cellar and all over the mountain. But on a day when that happens, I don't dare to go anywhere. I think all the time someone's standing behind me and going to catch hold of me all at once. So it was, in fact, an anxiety attack and introduced by the sign of a hysterical aura, or more correctly, it was a hysterical attack, the content of which was anxiety. Might there not probably be some other content as well? When you have an attack, do you think of something and always the same thing, or do you see something in front of you? Yes, I always see an awful face that looks at me in a dreadful way so that I'm frightened. Perhaps this might offer a quick means of getting to the heart of the matter. Do you recognize the face? I mean, is it a face that you've really seen sometime? No. Do you know what your attacks come from? No. When did you first have them? 2 years ago, while I was living on the other mountain with my aunt. She used to run a refugee hut there, but we moved here 18 months ago. But they keep on happening. Was I to make an attempt to an analysis, I could not venture to transplant hypnosis to these altitudes, but perhaps I might succeed with a simple talk. I should have to try a lucky case. I had found often enough that in girls, anxiety was a consequence of the horror by which a virginal mind is overcome when it is faced for the first time with the world of sexuality. So I said, if you don't know, I'll tell you how I think you got your attacks. At that time, 2 years ago, you must have seen or heard something that very much embarrassed you and that you'd much rather not have seen. Heavens, yes, he replied. That was when I caught my uncle with the girl, with Francisca, my cousin. What's this story about a girl? Won't you tell me all about it? You can say anything to a doctor, I suppose. Well, at that time, you know, my uncle, the husband of the aunt you've seen here, kept the inn of the Kogel. Now they're divorced, and it's my fault they were divorced because it was through me that it came out that he was carrying on with Francisca. And how did you discover it? This way, one day, 2 years ago, some gentleman had climbed the mountain and asked for something to eat. My aunt wasn't at home, and Francisca, who always did the cooking, was nowhere to be found. And my uncle was not to be found either. We looked everywhere, and at last, Elios, the little boy, my cousin, said, "Why, Francisca must be in the father's room." And we both laughed, but we weren't thinking anything bad. Then we went to my uncle's room but found it locked. That seemed strange to me. Then Elias said, "There's a window in the passage where you can look into the room." We went into the passage, but Elias wouldn't go to the window and said he was afraid. So I said, "You silly boy, I'll go. I'm not a bit afraid." And I had nothing bad in my mind. I looked in. The room was rather dark, but I saw my uncle and Francisca. He was lying on her. Well, I came away from the window at once and leaned up against the wall and couldn't get my breath. Just what happens to me since. Everything went blank and my eyelids were forced together and there was a hammering and buzzing in my head. "Did you tell your aunt that very same day?" "Oh no, I said nothing." "Then why were you so frightened when you found them together? Did you understand it? Did you know what was going on?" Oh no, I didn't understand anything at that time. I was only 16. I didn't know what I was frightened about. Uh, Fralian Katharina, if you could remember now what was happening in you at that time when you had your first attack, what you thought about it, it would help you. Yes, if I could, but I was so frightened that I've forgotten everything. Translated into the terminology of our preliminary communication, this means the affect itself created a hypnoid state whose product were then cut off from associative connection with the ego consciousness. Tell me, Fraulein, can it be that the head that you always see when you lose your breath is Francesca's head as you saw it then? "Oh no, she didn't look so awful. Besides, it's a man's head, or perhaps your uncle's." I didn't see his face as clearly as that. It was too dark in the room, and why should you have been making such a dreadful face just then? "You're quite right." The road suddenly seemed blocked. Perhaps something might turn up in the rest of our story. And what happened then? Well, those two must have heard a noise because they came out soon afterwards. I felt very bad the whole time. I always kept thinking about it. Then 2 days later, it was Sunday and there was a great deal to do, and I worked all day long. And on the Monday morning, I feel giddy again and was sick. And I stopped in bed and was sick without stopping for 3 days. We we Brewer and I had often compared the sympathology of Hysteria with a pictographic script which has become intelligible after the discovery of few bilingual inscriptions. In that alphabet, being sick means disgust. So I said, "If you were sick 3 days later, I believe that means that when you looked into the room, you felt disgusted." "Yes, I'm sure I felt disgusted," she said reflectively. "But disgusted at what?" "Perhaps you saw something naked." What sort of state were they in? It was too dark to see anything. Besides, they both of them had their clothes on. Oh, if only I knew what it was I felt disgusted at. I had no idea either, but I told her to go on and tell me whatever occurred to her in the confident expectation that she would think of precisely what I needed to explain the case. Well, she went on to describe how at last she reported her discovery to her aunt, who found that she was changed and suspected her of concealing some secret. There followed some very disagreeable scenes between her uncle and aunt, in the course of which the children came to hear a number of things which which opened their eyes in many ways and which it could have been better for them not to have heard. At last, her aunt decided to move with her children and niece and take over the present inn, leaving her uncle alone with
Okay. Francesca, fine. Up to here we discussed. Almost the time is over. We read 5 pages. There are 3 more pages for this content. You enjoyed. This is very simple reading, and you will be presenting. Everyone will be presenting this in our class. Next class we have 2 days holiday. So just prepare for your presentation as well. Will you present in group or in individual? Which one do you think better, easier? Ekikrit has
Group
left.
of 2.
Sorry.
So group of 2. Group
Okay.
of 2, like pair.
Fine. Then you prepare your own group or pair. If 2 or 3 or pair, your own pair of your interest, of your choice, of your comfort, you prepare for this. And on, let's say on Monday, you will be preparing and presenting on this topic.
Sir,
Yeah.
topic आफूले choose गर्ने हो?
No, topic is the same, but you will just prepare study from the whole this whole text.
Means to summarize this lesson.
You will summarize some of.
So
There
is
are.
it like a verbal presentation or like we need to make presentation also?
You need to make presentation. You will have some verbal presentation plus try to prepare the notes or the slides as well, PPTs as well. So will be better. And the second thing is also what one can make is 2-3 summaries and 2-3 some discussion questions there already that have been given in the discussion section of this exercise. That is also in the same slide, same PDF. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So should I take if there is any disturbance in the attendance? Should I take it or will it be virtually recorded?
So take the attendance.
Okay, then Amit.
Sir.
And Chitij.
Present, sir.
Ujjal.
Present, sir.
Parmodita.
Yes, sir.
I'm really feeling difficulty pronouncing your name.
You can call me Soumya if Pramodita is very difficult to call.
Soumya, yes?
Yes.
Soumya, okay, fine. Suveksha?
Yes, sir.
Divas absent? Prasanna, sorry. Prasanna Basnet or Prasanna Basnet? Absent. Okay, Utsav.
Present, sir. Utsav, sir.
Oh, sorry, Utsav. Anup. Anup Dahal has raised the hand. Okay. Partham as well. So we are expecting your wonderful presentations in our next class. And also some of you can present on another story, another essay as well. Charles Darwin's that E is equal to MC square. Sorry, Albert Einstein's.
Sir.
Yeah.
Is this group presentation and are we supposed to select our groups ourselves?
You are supposed to select your group or your pair
and
yourselves.
How many members?
In pair 2 or in group 3 or 4, not more than 4.
And when is this presentation?
It will be on 4th of this Assos. 4th of this Assos means tomorrow and day after we have holiday, yes?
Yes, sir.
Happy Constitution Day, and then on the very next day of Constitution Day, we'll have our presentation.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. So you can just talk with your friends and prepare for the same. One, this topic, and another, if you are from science background as well, so you can prepare on Albert Einstein's E is equal to MC square as well. Okay, this much for today. Thank you, everyone.